All right. This is the After Talk with Mukti Anandama and Aliyah. So, a lot was said, and there's so many questions. When you talk about these stargates, where you can do it in a certain place, there can be ceremony, but also you can just do it in yourself.
Or you can go to one like, Egypt is obviously there's gates there. What I want to talk about though, like I just want to bring up the point that often when we talk about stargates, some people know about these stargates and they assume there's 12. But there's more than one stargate for each dimensional portal. It's not just one. Which is, if that was known, then the wars over the stargates would not have there's way more than one for each dimension or portal, right?
Mm.
But it was hidden to make people think that there was only one, so that they wouldn't find the others that represented that dimensional portal.
And these
Yeah.
stargates, are these stargates that we can go through to other realms and beings come through into this realm, or is it more of a
Both.
one? It's
Well,
one way.
yeah, I think that some are easier to go through and some are easier for beings to come through. It all depends on uh, that particular portal, and then who's in the portal or who's accessing the portal. So the portals are intelligent. They're not just, set it and forget it. They each have an intelligence that operates through them.
Mm.
That's, it's otherwise it's just a big mass of energy that you can do anything with. So yeah, there's an intelligence to these portals. Mm-hmm.
And so this is interesting. And how does that relate to us being able to be a stargate as well?
Yeah, I don't think I know what your question is.
Well, I guess, we are also this energy. So,
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. It's like if you're in oneness, you're going to have a different view of stargates than you will if you're still in, most of your consciousness is occupied with me versus the world, or me versus other, or me versus the portal. But for those rare, currently rare beings who have stepped into the illumination of oneness, they are going to understand or be ready to receive the truth that you are the creator of the portal. And so, in that way, it can be done in your living room.
and then you speak of teams or the beings, these eternal beings that help us. Are they different groups for each person, or do people have similar guides?
Yep. It yes and yes.
Mm.
You know, so my team may be different than your team. There may be a member that we both share. There could be the exact same team. It's all combinations are possible.
Is there a way that people can have experience of this, or a remembrance to give them evidence, or a knowing of some of the experiences that we're talking about? I don't know if that's specific enough as a question.
Yeah, the question is a need for proof. And one of the biggest things about miracles, I mean, you shared about your toe is that you do not require proof in the external world. You know that you are the source and the decider, and you go and act from that.
Mm. So you don't need to see evidence of your consciousness affecting reality to know that that is the case, because it is, and there will be a breakthrough
Yeah,
moment.
it's like there's evidence everywhere, but whether you acknowledge that evidence
Mm.
as evidence is really up to you and your awareness.
Right.
There can be nothing else.
Right. So as soon as you decide
To be aware.
to be aware, I am this awareness.
Yeah. If the thing is where people get stuck is they look for evidence only in the manifested world. And they say that if they receive in their imagination an idea or a thought or a feeling, that that is not the evidence. They're now looking for evidence in the external world of that manifestation. And by that, they are negating what is going on in the imagination or the unseen world that they're aware of and blocking the manifestation of it because they say that is not real. It's not real. How are they saying that? Because they want proof.
Mm-hmm.
And so they never get to see these things that are kind of new in their consciousness, arriving, bubbling up, these inspirational thoughts or knowings, because they keep negating them by saying they're not real because I don't see proof, or I'll only think they're real if I see proof.
I see. And now you've said this before, but like radio station channels, if you always tune to station 3, you're always going to find evidence for station 3. And if you turn to station 12 or 9, then you will find evidence for that station as well. So it's both are true depending on the evidence you're looking for.
Right. Yeah.
The
There's
dimensions.
station 12 exists and station 3 exists. And the person listening to 3 and unable to turn into 12 will think that 12 doesn't exist.
Right. Both are right. It's very profound. I have found a lot of evidence in my life, and I've also struggled with finding evidence for the limited self and the eternal self, even though I've had, I think, a substantial amount of knowing and experience. For people that have similar things, where they have a knowing, but they keep running up against the wall of 3D, I mean, do you have any advice for people that can't seem to have the momentum to get over the hurdle of themselves, the limited self?
How about you give me a specific example? Because this is a question that's asked many times and answered in many ways. So
I feel
let's deal with
so I feel
the
like
specific, because
sometimes people give up, right? They run out of energy. They get to a place where they say I'm done, or I'm I'm tapped out,
yeah, let's
right?
be specific.
Um, I'm saying even spiritual beings that do this. Like, I think that's something David used to say. So you just get even though you have all this knowing, you hit a wall and you feel like, I'm burned out, I'm tapped out, and I don't have the energy to push through
Yeah, well,
further.
those aren't really the ones I'm speaking to,
Right.
because if they are listening now and have hung in here this long, then they're not at that point.
Mm-hmm.
There still is desire.
Right.
Um, and for those people that have desire but are tired or frustrated, I can tell you that one of the biggest loops and traps of not seeing what you're consciously choosing to create projected on the screen is the constant looking for evidence of it being projected on the screen. Now, I can tell you there is evidence that it is being created. It's slowly coming into focus. But the thing is, your energy is divided. It's divided between I believe it, and yet I don't see it. I don't have proof, so I'm not really sure. Maybe I'm not doing it right. In other words, there's doubt. Whenever there's doubt, your energy is divided. And the thing that is requiring the least amount of effort will get projected. And usually, what is the least amount of effort for you to focus on is what's in front of your face,
Right.
physically.
I love that, because so in finding evidence for the limited self or eternal self, essentially you're saying people just say, okay, I'll just stay tuned to channel 3. That's my state of being. And so essentially they're not tuning into a higher frequency.
They're not living from their imagination and inner world, and they're not receiving the evidence that is all around. Let me give you an example. Somebody knows that they are abundant. That is their nature. That is who they are. Their abundance is with them. They can feel it. They can sense it within themselves. They're very much in line with the frequency, and yet their life is filled with poverty. But as they dwell more and more on that abundance, suddenly they get an offer, an opportunity that comes their way that isn't handing them over, the millions of dollars, but it's a new opportunity that seems exciting, but that person just can't see how it's going to make them millions of dollars to match the wealth that they feel inside. But they don't know that that's just the beginning. So they immediately reject it. There is a sign that it is coming into focus, this abundance that you are not knowing within, but they reject it because it's not the full manifestation in that moment.
Mm.
And so they stop the unfoldment of that. And then they go looking again because they they miss that, seeing that opportunity as it is. Just think of an investment. Often people who make a lot of money on investment, they do so because they see the opportunity and not the proof.
Mm.
Right? They
Right.
see the opportunity and they know that that is the beginning of their grown adult child. That is
Mm.
the seed of their grown, because they are open enough not to need the proof of the full thing immediately.
Right.
And that's the same with health. If people aren't instantly well, they think that nothing's going on. But they may feel 1% better than they did yesterday, but not acknowledge that. So it doesn't grow. The baby doesn't grow.
Right. It's all very profound. It all ties together very elegantly. I know the body even has chemical addictions and to feeling states. So it's very profound that if somebody continues to uh, prefer a certain feeling state, say victimization, then it will draw in an experience to match that
All of that is
feeling.
just untrained consciousness. I mean, remember, there's no separate body that can move without your consciousness. You are the body, just as you are the reality. You are all that is. So, you know, holding on to a story like the body has its own operating mechanisms that something separate, need to deal with is not really true. You are the one with the addiction, not the body. And your addiction is, if you want to call it that, but your mind is trained and focused on one perception, and you do not know or you're not interested because you're here to experience that type of experience in spades, and learning how to be the master of your own consciousness and directing it where you will it.
Right. Well, it's also, I think, discerning all these bodies. If you have an emotional body, a mental body, a
You
physical.
don't really need, the only reason I bring up any of that is so that you don't get lost in the trap that you are separate from anything. If you can go there, you don't need to worry about all the emotional bodies, the mental bodies, the void body, the light body, because you are all of it. And as you align, all the bodies align. They turn on like they need to turn on, turn off. If all the things they need to do will be done.
I guess what I was trying to say is having your awareness reside on a higher frequency or a higher body and not focus on the physical or mental or emotional
You
bodies.
can focus on the physical if you know that it is you. It's not something separate from you.
Mm-hmm.
It is consciousness, if you will. It is the source of life. It is, you cannot separate out these things in actuality. Now, we do separate them out to experience, in consciousness. We say this is the body and it is me, but it has its own life and it does its own thing. And then with the world, it's even greater. Like this is me and this is the world. It's me against the world, or the world is for me, or whatever. I mean, you're setting up two, where
Well,
there is really only one, always one.
I must say, I'm just so excited. Everything that you put forth from your consciousness is very exhilarating to me. The idea of meeting my team, the idea of having the eternal
Yes,
body.
yes. So let's meet your team. I encourage and invite those to allow their imaginations to run rampant and see what team you come up with. Because whatever team you come up with is your team.
All
Could
right.
be no other way.
You are the best thing to ever happen to you.
That's
You
right.
have the dream team.
You are, yes, I like to say that I am the best thing that's ever happened to my world and to myself, as are you.
Mhm.